Republican Senator John Barrasso has left the door open to the suspension of habeas corpus. And one of the things that is unbelievable about this segment is that it leaves the door open to Civil War type logic. I'm going to explain this. It's not metaphorical. It's not symbolic. It's a real constitutional breakdown. So here is Barasso on Meet the Press. And he was asked 3 separate times, would you support ending habeas corpus? Something that Trump advisor Stephen Miller, as we saw earlier in the show, said they are looking at. This is the legal right that protects people from being detained without a trial. It wasn't a wild hypothetical, and there's a specific reason why he was asked about it. What did Barasso say? He didn't say no. He didn't say that would be unconstitutional. He didn't even say it's a terrible idea. He said, I don't believe that it's going to come to Congress. And this is exactly the problem. And I will tell you why in a second after we check out the clip.
Finally, Senator, I want to talk about something that one of President Trump's top aides, Stephen Miller, said this week. He said the administration is actively looking at suspending habeas corpus. Just for our audience, that's the right to challenge a person's detention by the government. This would be a part of the broader efforts to speed up their deportation policies. The Constitution says that habeas corpus may not be suspended, quote, unless when in cases of rebellion or invasion. Would you vote to suspend habeas corpus since the power does ultimately lie with Congress?
The president has said he will follow the law. The president says if he disagrees with the law, that he will appeal those things. The president was elected and he won every one of the battleground states on promising to secure the border and bring safety back to our communities. That's exactly what he is doing. People do not want to live with MS-13 gang members in their communities. The Democrats lost the election.
Notice that none of this is relevant to the question.
Because they opened the borders to 10 million illegal immigrants, including members of criminal cartels, drug dealers, gang members. That's what the election was about. And the president is now seeing judges, district judges, radical district judges using their courts to set national standards on making it harder for the president to deport individuals, criminals, and I stand with the president.
And yet, Senator, just to put a fine point on this, I want to know what you would do. Would you vote to suspend habeas corpus if this were brought before Congress? Ultimately,
Second
this
attempt.
Power lies with Congress.
The president said he is going to follow the law. He was on with you last week. He said he has great respect for the Supreme Court. He said he expects the Attorney General to do the right thing, and I expect that the president will.
Can you just give me a yes or no what you would do, though? Would you support suspending habeas corpus?
I don't believe this is going to come to Congress.
Okay.
What I believe is the president is going to follow the law.
What a cop-out. This is actually far more complex and nuanced than you might think. Nuanced in a completely despicable way. Kristen Welker is correct that it's supposed to come to Congress. But as I said earlier in the show, when we say the law prescribes X, if there's no way to enforce that, what does it mean that it's in the law? If a tree falls in the woods and nobody hears it, does it make a sound? If there's a law written somewhere that no one follows and there's no method of enforcement to following it, does it matter that it's a law that's written down somewhere? And what Barasso is saying is actually terrifying. Barasso is probably right. If Trump decides to suspend habeas corpus, they're not going to have a vote. They're not going to have a debate. He's just going to do it because that's how authoritarianism works. And these Republicans are under the illusion or the delusional belief that Trump cares what Trump cares what they believe. He doesn't, because they're not partners. I don't even know that he sees them as allies. He sees them as decoration until they become inconvenient. So Barasso sadly might be correct. I don't know that this is going to come to a vote because Trump has no intention of letting people vote as to whether he suspends habeas corpus. Now, why is this a civil war risk? When you suspend core rights like due process, you're not enforcing the law. You're declaring war on part of your own population. You're saying, here's a group of people that don't deserve rights. They're not really part of the country. And by the way, the people that are in this group of people, I can tell you where we draw the line. We'll draw it once here. It's us versus them. If that becomes a problem, we'll draw the line somewhere else. And now it's this new us versus this new them. And this is how civil wars start. It's not when the first shot is fired. It's when the rules of peaceful disagreement are abandoned. And when states or strong men say, we don't really need courts, we don't really need lawyers, we don't really need checks and balances, I'm just going to decide. That's when you start pointing towards civil war. And that's exactly what the suspension of habeas corpus does. It removes that final guardrail where they say, we can put whoever in jail that we want. Trump already sees undocumented immigrants as enemies that he can put in jail whenever he wants. He called them invaders. He sent troops to the border. He's floated military tribunals. And now his team is looking at saying, this is an invasion and we can detain people without even charging them indefinitely. That's the next step. And here's where we are. And Barasso, as a constitutional conservative, instead of saying absolutely not, he shrugs and he goes, I don't think it's going to get to me. I don't think I'm going to get a vote on that. It's not reassurance. It's actually part of the problem. It's complicity. And if Trump does this, the country will split even further. Because once one side says your rights don't matter, it opens the door for the other side to also stop playing by the rules. And that's when systems break. Civil wars don't start because people disagree. They start when people start believing that they're going to be treated, when people stop believing that they will be treated fairly under the law. And that's what Barasso is signaling here for millions of people, that moment may be coming. You're leaving the door open for civil war, and it is utterly and completely terrifying. After researching, writing, refining, The Echo Machine, my book, is finally out. This is not just a book about how American politics got so broken. It's also about what's happening right now and what we can still do to stop things from getting worse. Trump's been back in power. The results have been even more catastrophic than many feared, with targeting of political opponents and gutting democratic institutions, laying the groundwork to even further consolidate power. But the thing is that none of this is inevitable. The same forces that brought us here can be countered if we understand how they work and what to do about them. And that's what The Echo Machine is all about. Some say that without corporate media backing, books like this can't succeed. I think we can prove them wrong. You can get The Echo Machine right now at davidpakman.com/echo on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Audible, Kindle, or by calling any local bookstore and asking them to order it. This book is more important than ever. If you care about what happens next, and I do, check out The Echo Machine today at davidpakman.com/echo.